The city of Sodom is marked for destruction in our Parsha, but all we learn from the text is that the city is evil. Well, there's lots of evil cities out there. What was Sodom up to? What evil did they perpetrate that made them worthy of total destruction? The Talmud takes up this question in Tractate Sanhedrin. It records a long conversation about the depravity of the city of Sodom. This is what the Talmud says. Hachiatnu beinehu. This is what the people of Sodom stipulated among themselves. Havya lehu puraita dehavumagne ala orchin. In the city of Sodom, there were beds available, and they would welcome guests and lay them on those beds. Sounds nice. Ki ma'arich gaizele. But if the guest was longer than the bed, they would cut him. Ki gutz matchinle. If the guest was shorter than the bed, they would stretch him. At first glance, this seems almost absurd, a grotesque fairy tale horror. Indeed, the image echoes the Greek myth of Procrustes, a bandit who forced travelers onto an iron bed, amputating limbs or racking bodies to match its length. Yet the rabbis of the Talmud were not borrowing pagan folklore for shock value. They were delivering, I would offer, a precise moral scalpel. Sodom was not destroyed for ordinary sin, nor for private immorality, nor even for a lack of faith. Sodom was obliterated because its people took a sacred duty, a mitzvah, hachnasat orchim, the welcoming of guests, and inverted it into an instrument of torture. This is the terrifying genius of the bed of Sodom. It is not mere evil. It is corrupted good. A bed which was originally designed for refuge and rest, the restoration of a weary stranger, but in Sodom's hands, it became a rack of conformity. Every human being must be mutilated or distended until they fit the city's rigid, merciless mold. The sin of Sodom was creative wickedness, the deliberate perversion of kindness into cruelty, of generosity into mockery, of sanctuary into slaughter. My friends, this Shabbat, on Veterans Shabbat no less, we confront a modern high priestess of that same bed. It is our shameful mayor, Olivia Chow. Last week, at an event hosted by the National Council of Canadian Muslims, Mayor Chow stood before a cheering crowd and declared, "The genocide in Gaza impacts us all." With those words, she did not merely criticize policy. She weaponized the most sacred and scarred word in Jewish memory, genocide, against the one Jewish state on earth, the homeland born from the ashes of our people's near annihilation. She equated Israel's existential defense against the terrorist army sworn to our extermination with the industrialized murder of 6 million Jews. And in so doing, She stretched truth on the rack of ideology. She cut justice to fit her narrative. This was no slip of the tongue. It was a calculated dagger aimed at the heart of the 200,000 Jews of this city, at a time when our synagogues are being vandalized, when our children hide their kippahs and Magen Davids, when our elders fear walking to shul. The very next day, I declared Mayor Chow persona non grata in all our Jewish spaces. No invitations, no photo ops, no seat at our tables. Our dignity is not negotiable, our safety is not optional, and our history, etched in the smoke of Auschwitz and the blood of October the 7th, forbids us from extending welcome to those who endanger us. I want to unpack why this accusation is not merely wrong and offensive, but profane and lethal. Let us begin with the word itself, genocide. What an ugly, venomous word. It slithers from the tongue like poison, conjuring the systematic slaughter of innocents, the erasure of entire peoples from the face of the earth. It is not mere rhetoric. It is a curse, a desecration of the divine image in every human soul. Genocide was coined in 1944 by Raphael Lemkin, a Polish Jewish survivor who watched the Nazis devour his entire family and world. It fused the Greek genos, which means race or tribe, with the Latin side for killing. Lemkin birthed this term not as academic jargon, but as a cry against the Holocaust. He thought of mothers clutching infants in the arms of death, scholars reduced to ash, communities vibrant for millennia, silenced forever. For Jews, genocide is no abstract horror. It is our scar, our vigil, our vow of never again. Lemkin's work forged the 1948 United Nations Genocide Convention, a global bulwark against such evil, defining it as the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a group as such, not collateral in war, but the targeted annihilation for who they are. Now picture Mayor Chow wielding it like a club against Israel. The genocide in Gaza, she proclaimed, drawing parallels to her own family's wartime suffering in China, as if the deliberate butchery of October the 7th were somehow equivalent to Israel's measured response. This accusation is offensive on its face. It inverts victim and perpetrator. It equates the world's only Jewish state with the Nazi machine that industrialized murder. It desecrates the Shoah's memory. It cheapens the 6 million by flinging the term at a war where Israel warns civilians before strikes, risks its soldiers' lives in house-to-house combat, and has delivered more aid to Gaza than any prior conflict, even as Hamas diverts that aid for tunnels and terror. If Israel intended genocide, true, methodical extermination, why not hundreds of thousands dead, as in Rwanda or the Holocaust? Why not blanket bombings without warning? Israel, the region's preeminent military power could have leveled Gaza in weeks. Instead, 2 years later, the Hamas-run health ministry cites around 60,000 deaths, by the way, lumping combatants and civilians together, while Israel's aims remain clear: retrieve hostages, dismantle Hamas, prevent another October 7th. There is no Wannsee Conference plotting Gazan erasure. There is no policy that targets Palestinians as such. War is tragedy. Civilian deaths are heartbreaking. But genocide? This lie is a blood libel for the digital age, and Chow knows it. She has chosen this word to delegitimize Israel and to deny our ancestral rights from Hebron to Jerusalem. This is horribly offensive to us in Toronto. This wounds the soul of a community that is already bleeding. We are the largest Jewish community in Canada. Mayor Chow is the mayor of the largest Jewish community in Canada that has poured its heart into this city, in philanthropy, in real estate, in law, in poetry, in music. We built hospitals, schools, cultural hubs, not as settlers, but as partners in Canada's mosaic. Yet since October the 7th, we've endured a torrent. Synagogues vandalized, kosher stores firebombed, students harassed on campus, families doxxed for wearing kippot. B'nai B'rith tallied over 5,000 anti-Semitic incidents in 2024, a 500% surge. Chow's words fan these flames. Those 3 words were a slap in the face to Jews in Toronto, says Amir Epstein of Tafsik. They validate the chants of globalize the Intifada, the swastikas on our lawns, the assaults on our elders. By accusing Israel of genocide, she paints us, supporters of our homeland, as complicit in evil. This is no abstract slight. It is a spark in a powder keg. Tafsik and Unapologetically Jewish have filed complaints with the Human Rights Tribunal and the city's Integrity Commissioner, calling it a modern blood libel that sows division and hatred. Mayor Olivia Chow is a danger to the Jewish community of this city. She is a leader whose obsession with the Israel-Gaza conflict, far beyond her municipal mandate, has repeatedly tilted towards bias, emboldening our enemies and eroding our safety. Since her early days in office, we've all noticed this. I've tried to critique her gently and give her the benefit of the doubt, but her pattern is undeniable. Repeated public statements vilifying Israel, choices of events to attend and events to avoid, and conversations I've had with people close to her, revealing a strange fixation on this international issue while ignoring local cries for protection. At the very event where she dropped this genocide bomb, she pledged taxpayer dollars for anti-Islamophobia ads. Laudable in intent, but where is the comparable action for us? Where are the funds to secure our schools and our synagogues amid rising threats? Her words are not isolated. They are incendiary fuel. I was absolutely shocked, said my friend Michael Levitt, CEO of Canadian Friends of Simon Wiesenthal. I was shocked that she uttered such an inflammatory statement. It is both untrue and sows anti-Semitism. She is not just offensive. She is a catalyst for harm, a mayor whose words license the mobs, whose silence on our pain amplifies their rage. In a city where she swore to serve all, she has chosen sides, not ours. It makes her a danger, plain and simple. We cannot and must not tolerate a leader who endangers her constituents. Today, we are marking Veterans Shabbat, a Shabbat when we pause to honor the brave men and women who laid down their lives for Canadian values. Our soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy, liberated concentration camps, and stood against tyranny to defend the very principle that no people should be erased, no group demonized, no life deemed expendable. They fought so that the word genocide would never again stain the earth. Mayor Chow's accusation spits on their graves. It dishonors every veteran who believed that freedom, dignity, and the sanctity of life were worth dying for. Year by year, the foundational values that forged Canada are being systematically eroded by identity-based ideologies that categorize, divide, and pit oppressor against oppressed. The identical ideological framework that falsely accuses Israel of genocide applies the same label to Canada. It is an ideology that has metastasized into a doctrine that assigns collective guilt by immutable identity, sanctioning the erasure of entire groups and replacing justice with perpetual grievance. The bed of Sodom. It lives wherever a society demands that human beings be cut down or stretched beyond recognition to fit its ideological frame. It appears when moral language is inverted, when defenders become guilty of genocide, when victims become villains, when words forged in Jewish blood are weaponized against Jewish survival. This is a scary time. Anti-Semitism surging, leaders failing, values crumbling. But here in Synagogue, we must reclaim what we believe. Every soul sacred, redemption possible, covenant eternal. On this Veteran Shabbat, we stand shoulder to shoulder with the memory of those who fell so that we might live free. Let us make a vow, not in whispers but in thunder. Let every synagogue in this city, every Jewish home, every school and campus group, every family dinner table ring with this truth. We have a mayor who is persona non grata. Until she retracts her blood libel, until she apologizes without caveat, until she stands in this sanctuary and looks us in the eye and says, I was wrong and I will protect you, she has no place among us. No photo ops at our fundraisers, no invitations to our seders, no seat at our table, no voice in our spaces. Let that message go forth from this sanctuary to City Hall, from North York to Queen's Park, from the pages of the Canadian Jewish News to the airwaves of every media outlet. We will not be gaslit. We will not be silenced, and we will not be sacrificed on the altar of political expediency. This isn't a request, it is a boundary that we all need to have and know about, drawn in the blood of 6 million and the tears of our children who have to hide their identities under their coats. Olivia, Chow, you have chosen Sodom's path. You have stretched truth on the rack of ideology. You have cut justice to fit your narrative. Just as God heard the outcry against that city, so too will the Ribono Shel Olam hear us. So too will history judge you. May the God who stayed Abraham's hand at the Akedah stay every hand raised against his people. May he turn every heart toward truth, justice, and peace. Amen.